Olá pessoal, welcome back to the channel. In this lesson I will teach you how to tell the time in Brazilian Portuguese and how to express doing something at a specific time. I will also share some common expressions with the word HORA. And stick around until the end of the video for a short quiz to test your knowledge. Before we begin, please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so you can receive a notification whenever I post a new video. Also check out my website fwbp-academy.com for more free content, ebooks and online courses. Now that we've got that covered, let's get started. The most common way to ask for the time is que horas são? The actual word for time in Portuguese is tempo, but that word is used if you want to say, for example, I don't have time to do this. When we are talking about the clock time, we're talking about horas. We have the verb to be here, the verb ser, conjugated in the plural to agree with the word that is also in the plural, the word horas. A pronunciation tip here is to pronounce the S in horas and the S in são as just one sound. Que horas são? In English, there is another way of asking for the time, which is, do you have the time? And the Portuguese equivalent to that is, você tem horas? In the following examples, I'll be using the 12-hour clock as it's most commonly used in colloquial speech. The 24-hour clock is often used only when giving the exact times of flights, appointments, concerts, etc. Okay, so let's have a look at the different ways of telling the time. Let's start with the full hour. É uma hora. To say it is, we say é. The number 1 has a masculine form, and a feminine form, uma. The noun hora is feminine, so we need to say uma. The word hora here is the equivalent of o'clock in English. It's 1 o'clock. É uma hora. If you want to say on the dot, the expression is em ponto. É uma hora em ponto. Now let's move on to 101. Here we have 1 minute. The word minuto is masculine, so we need to use the masculine form of the number 1. Un minuto. And notice here I'm not actually saying the word hora, as it's often used just for the full hour, as we've seen above. And we're not saying the word minuto either, just é e The other thing I need to point out here is that the minutes past the hour are expressed with the word e, which means and. Now when we move on to 2 o'clock, it's important to be aware that we are not talking about the singular hora anymore, but the plural horas. And because horas is feminine, we need to use the feminine form of the number 2, which is duas. And we also need to use the plural são instead of é. São 2 horas. 2:02 will be são 2:02. Duas refers to horas and dois, the masculine form of the number 2, refers to minutos. But again, we don't actually say those words, just são 2:02. With the other numbers, we don't have to worry about whether they're masculine or feminine, as they don't have different forms. We only need to worry about that if we're talking about 1 or 2. Let's see now 3:15. São 13:15. In Portuguese, although there is the equivalent of 1/4, which is quarto, in Brazil, e 15, literally and 15, is what we actually use. Next one, 4:20, são 4:20. 5:30, são 5:30. But it's actually more common for Brazilians to use e meia to express half past the hour. The word meia here, which means half, is in the feminine form because it needs to agree with hora. São 5:30. 6:35 são 6:35. Or you can say the minutes to the hour. São 25 para 7. Pras is the preposition para, merged with the feminine plural definite article as, because it's às 7 horas. Para plus as becomes pras. 7:40 são 7:40, ou são 20 para as 8. 20 to 8. 8:45 or 8:45 são 8:45, são 15 para as 9. 9:50 or 10 to 10 são 9:50, são 10 para as 10. 10:55 or 5 to 11 são 10:55, são 5 para as 11. To say it's 12 o'clock, as in 12 noon, é meio-dia. The word for half is in the masculine form meio, because the word dia is masculine. To say it's midnight, é meia-noite. We're using the feminine meia because noite is a feminine noun. Now remember when we learned that pras is used to express the minutes to the hour, like the example, são 25 para 7, it's 25 to 7. When we say the minutes to 1 o'clock, for example, it's 15 to 1, we need to say pra, which is a contraction of para plus a. And when we want to say the minutes to 12 noon, for example, we need to say são 15 pro meio-dia. Para plus o, pro. To ask what time something takes place, you need to start your question with a que horas, the equivalent of at what time in English. However, just like in English, the preposition at is often dropped, in Portuguese, Brazilians tend to drop the preposition a as well. So, for example, que horas começa o filme? Instead of a que horas começa o filme. Now let's see some possible answers to that. A 1 hora, à meia-noite, às 2 horas, ao meio-dia. The accent mark that you can see here is called crase. It indicates that this is actually the merge of the preposition a plus the feminine singular definite article a, becoming a. There's no change in the pronunciation. The preposition a plus the feminine plural definite article as becomes as with the crase. And the preposition a plus the masculine singular definite article o becomes ao meio-dia. Now I'm going to show you how to express the idea of AM and PM. First, let's remind ourselves of the words for the periods of the day: manhã, tarde, and noite. When we are just referring to the part of the day without the time, we use the preposition de. For example, eu sempre estudo de manhã. Eu sempre estudo de tarde. Eu sempre estudo de noite. When we are actually mentioning a specific time and we want to convey the idea of AM, we use da manhã. Eu sempre estudo às 10 da manhã. To convey the idea of PM, you can use either da tarde, eu sempre estudo às 2 da tarde, ou da noite, eu sempre estudo às 10 da noite. Now let's see 5 common expressions with the word hora. Na hora certa. Eu cheguei na hora certa. De hora em hora. O ônibus passa de hora em hora. A toda hora. O meu telefone toca a toda hora. De uma hora para outra. A situação mudou de uma hora para outra. Em cima da hora. Eu cheguei no aeroporto em cima da hora. Now, are you ready for a quiz? I'm going to ask que horas são? And you have a few seconds to answer based on the time that appears on the screen. I will then give you the correct answer. Vamos lá? Que horas são? É 1h. Que horas são? São 3h. Que horas são? São 4h15. Que horas são? São 5h30 ou são 5h30. Que horas são? São 6h35 ou, you could also say, são 7:25. Que horas são? São 7h40 ou são 7:20. Que horas são? São 8h45 ou são 8:15. Que horas são? São 9h50 ou são 10:10. Que horas são? São 10h01. Que horas são? É meio-dia. Que horas são? É meia-noite. Let me know in the comments how well you did on the quiz. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments as well. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and if you did, please hit that like button. Thank you very much. See you next time. Obrigado. Ciao.